Professor, good afternoon. I'm Ashley Asidilio. I'm a student of Master of Management. I'm a student, by the way, of Professor Macaranas. But if I screw up my question, but if I screw up my question, sir, please don't blame the professor. That kidding aside, sir. Sir, I've only been in the private sector for a little over 2 years. Prior to that, I was with the military. And that is to say that there are also several of us who are here studying at AIM. Therefore, the context of my question would be on the nature of conflict and warfare. But I'd like to give a takeaway as to how it intertwines with economics, where I will ask my question. Sir, my bias, because of the long history of our country with ideological conflict, my bias really is towards the thesis of the late Samuel Huntington, which is that almost all wars are clashes of civilization or culture wars, therefore ideological wars. But in your lecture, sir, I noticed that there have been several wars and conflicts which were pushed by economic conditions in certain countries, like in the case of Spain and Portugal in the 16th and 17th centuries, and even in the case of the US in the late 19th century. Their wars of conquest were driven mainly by, of course, economic interests. Which brings me to my question, sir. The UN, the World Economic Forum, in their landmark reports, both point to the increased tendency towards interstate conflict in the near future. Sir, what to your, and I hope I'm not taking you out of your comfort zone, what, sir, to your opinion, would drive conflicts in the future? Would it still be a clash of civilizations, or would it be, say, in a scenario where you have the certain economic conditions drive conflict in the case of the inability of developed countries to produce alternative sources of energy, therefore not solving the oil depletion, mixed with another economic condition where a climatic catastrophe wipes out a significant portion of the world's food supply. Would this then constitute an economic force enough to drive nations again to go to war against each other as compared to clashes in culture or ideology?
Well, first of all, I don't agree with Huntington. But then again, he's a historian and I'm an economist, so I carry that burden. So I tend to view most conflicts as being driven by, at least in part, by economic forces. And that would include the political economy in countries, not just the economics between them, but within as well. As I said in response to the previous question, I'm nervous about the future because I see a lot of scarcities appearing. Water scarcities, for example. Will individual countries resolve these problems? My country doesn't. It responds to political economy, and it gives California farmers, as much water as they want, at just ludicrously low prices, and then makes consumers in LA turn their water off in the summer, while these guys are using it all for their rice. Rice in California? Crazy. Well, not for that political economy. And every country is burdened with these political economies, and whether they will be able to resolve scarce freshwater issues without getting internally into political economy problems is unclear. The track record doesn't look good. But how about between countries, especially in the Middle East, where so much of the water passes through many countries? or in North America and vis-a-vis Mexico, passes through both countries. I hope we find ways to negotiate through these problems and begin to pay each other off for appropriate uses of water, and then you can multiply the examples. If you don't mine minerals, where are you going to get them? And what's going to happen to their price? What would happen if OPEC, really cut off oil and raised the price 4 or 5 times what it is now? Do you think the biggest military muscle, America, would sit on its hands? I don't think so. I think they would move aggressively and militarily. So as I see these scarcities, so you have to persuade me, no, come on, technology will take care of the problem, it's always taking care of the problem. Well, I'm not so sure about this. So I'm a little pessimistic. It'll be a challenge. So maybe I'll have to go back in the Army.